I would suspect, to the governor as well. So we should expect to see both of those moving forward here in the next week or so. The second item on the agenda, in the docket here you have, and there's somewhat timely because there was an article in the Journal yesterday about this, about prostitution and lewdness. That passed the House. There is a bill that will be before the Senate. I would suspect in the next week or so, probably we'll go to committee, I would suspect first, most likely Judiciary Committee. I was one of the co-sponsors of the Senate version of the bill. The bill that will ultimately come forward will be similar, but I can't imagine it's going to be exactly identical to the bill that was introduced to the Senate. But we'll be seeing that bill introduced to the most likely Senate Judiciary Committee in the next week or so. Senator John Tassoni is the prime sponsor on the Senate bill. With regards to federal stimulus funding and state infrastructure funding, we all know what's about to transpire on West Main Road with the stimulus dollars affixing West Main from 2 Mile Corner out through to the Green Lane. That's about to begin, I think, this week or next. We had DiPalma Construction is the awarded that contract, and it came in less than what it was budgeted for. It appears that a lot of the contracts are coming in for less than what the budgets were. So these economic times are what they are. The state's being able to save some money on some of the projects. Obviously, you'll be able to do more work with that as the time permits. We expect the Green End Avenue, Valley Road intersection to happen by the third quarter to begin. I believe that's still on track for that. DOT's at the State House just about every day. So I touch base with the folks there to make certain we're on, excuse me, we're on track for that. As those projects, because the original West Main Road project was not part of the federal stimulus money, though it hadn't been started, they were able to move it over to that project and bring something else that was on the statewide planning, the Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP, into be funded this year. So we're going to have more projects happen across the state than would have happened without the federal money, obviously. The next item we have on the docket is teacher notification date. Still today, layoff notification for teachers is March 1st. Based on the bill that I submitted to Senate Labor and been working on it for the last 4 months, it passed the Senate Labor Committee, and what we're looking at now is a May 15th date for the majority of teachers instead of March 1st. Obviously, most budgets will be a little better known by the May 15th date. The March 1st date will remain, so there were 2 compromises in the bill. The March 1st date will remain for teachers that are receiving a notice because of performance, layoff because of performance. That will be before the full Senate this Wednesday. I'm sure there'll be some vibrant dialogue about that, but I'm looking forward to bringing that over the goal line. It's something I've worked on, like I said, for about 4 months or so. And you folks up there know, and some better than others, having sat on both sides of the fence, or both sides of the table with regards to how that affects people across the state. Next item on here, education funding formula. There is, in fact, an education funding formula that's been submitted. The House has had one that was similar to last year. The one that's been submitted on the Senate side, which I'm a co-sponsor of, looks to actually establish I'll call it a fair and equitable funding formula. It's expected that it'll come before the Senate Education Committee here soon. At a top level, it looks to hold communities harmless with regards to the funding they received. It won't go into effect from a funding perspective until 2 years after the May or fall revenue estimating conference. I think it's the fall revenue estimating conferences have produced positive numbers. So if it passes this year, which we hope it will, we won't see anything take effect until the 2011 timeframe. And then it's based on holding harmless. The other factor in it's based on free and reduced lunch as a way to keep equity across the state with regards to education funding. So that's moving forward as well. One of the first bills I had pass, and the commission's just about being formed, is a Senate Commission on Shared Municipal Services, or Municipal Shared Services. It takes into account, there'll be 3 senators on the commission. It's a Senate-only commission. Representatives from the Government Financial Officers Association, Tax Collectors Association, the Quinnipiac Island Planning Commission, since they were looking at some of this, the Town and City Managers Association, a representative of labor, AFL-CIO, and there's probably 1 or 2 other groups that were added to that as well. And it's looking at how do we potentially share services, dare I use the word collaborate, consolidate, regionalize, all part of it, but how do we collaborate to gain increased efficiencies and additional effectiveness by trying to pool some of our resources together. That's expected to commence as soon as the letters are going out. I think some of them are going out today. And once they've come back with the names, because it's either the chair or the president of the organization or their designee. So I think they're given a time frame of probably a couple weeks to provide back. That will kick off, a report's due back by January. I think the time frame is. I'll have to look back at the bill. If you're interested in the bill, it's Senate Bill 99A, amended A. So that's coming forward. With regards to the budget, which is something everyone's concerned about, everyone's worried about. I know you are, as a council, and the state, from a legislative perspective, is as well. And if you heard the latest numbers, based on the recent May revenue estimating conference and caseload conference, we're about a $70 million shortfall just in 2009. And we just passed a supplemental bill in 2009 about 2 months ago, or a month and a half ago. Moving forward into 2010, 2010 is looking at about a $500+ million deficit. Total of those two together, we're upwards of $600 million, 590 if you want to be exact, or closer to a real number. So you can estimate $600 million gap that needs to be closed. Approximately 70 for the 09 budget, about 500 plus for the 010 budget. And the worst is probably still yet to come. The worst is probably still yet to come in the FY11 budget, because that's when the federal stimulus dollars will cease. It's expected that, based on the various economists that have looked at, whether it's Moody's or whomever, looking at the economy in the state of Rhode Island, unemployment is probably expected to grow to about 12.5% by next year. It's looking like that will be the max that it will reach. Hope it doesn't, but hope's never a plan. So we need to ensure we're working towards addressing that, doing the right things now, because we will come out of the recession. How do we come out of the recession and move forward in a positive light and jumpstart once that happens? But we're looking at about a $600 million deficit that has to be closed. 70, from an 09 budget perspective, and we started June 1st today. Less than a month, we have to close that gap for the 09 budget and work towards the 010 budget with about a $520 million budget gap. So that's what it is.